right, so we are here today with Dr. LaTonya and Reverend Charles Penny, pastors of Belonging Fellowship. And we want to learn just exactly what Belonging Fellowship is. Now, this is our second sit down with Pastor Tonya. We did a series with her in August 2020 entitled Qualified, Amplified, Verified. So go check that out if you've not seen that series. But this is our first time speaking with Pastor Charles. So before we get into the topic of our conversation, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So born in Asheville, North Carolina, raised in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, lived there for about 23 years. Pretty much did all my schooling there, ran track in college at UNC Pembroke, and did some studies at Carolina College of Biblical Studies. And currently I am the head golf coach at Winston-Salem State University and a current member of the APGA Tour, which stands for Advocates Professional Golf Association Tour. And yeah, so pretty much done a lot of things that don't really mesh as far as if you're looking at a story, but that's pretty much who I am.
Okay, so you have an interesting story that many people were able to read about, a relationship that began between you and professional golfer Patrick Reed. So just tell us a little bit about how you and Mr. Reed came to communicate with one another and what came out of that.
Sure. So sitting at my in-laws on Christmas Eve working, and I saw a Instagram piece come up, and it was pretty much some clubs and irons that I saw back in 2019 that I thought were pretty cool. I just didn't think they would ever come out on the market. So I actually reached out to the company by way of message on Instagram, and they told whoever was on the social media handle, told Patrick Reed that I was a mini tour athlete, and that I was going to be starting in January, and that I was looking at PUD, which is player discount. And they emailed me back saying they typically do 20%, but we took liberty to send Patrick that you are on the APGA Tour. And it went from them saying 20% to he be willing to do more, that I just need to write about my goals and then send a schedule for my tournament year. And I did that, and within 3 days or so, I get an email back saying that Patrick and his wife were going to cover the whole cost of the irons. Well, the PGA Tour got wind of the story and asked that I ever met Pat, and I told him not other than just walking with him at a couple of golf tournaments in previous years, and even at the beginning of 2020 in March, I followed him for a couple of holes down in Florida. And so they took the liberty to send my contact information to him, and so he gave me a call, and we talked for about 45 minutes, not really talking about anything other than family, when you think it would be mostly about golf. And then after that, we typically stay in contact through text or phone call at least once or twice, texting more, but at least on a phone call once or twice a month.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your work with Winston-Salem State. How did that begin?
So I actually was reached out to in 2019 to apply for the coaching position. But at the time I was teaching full-time, golf instructor, and then also club fitter. And then I get a call from a person close to me saying, hey, you should apply because you're a golf instructor. And at that time it was just a part-time position, and it still is. It was a part-time position, and I had a full-time job that I really liked, and I didn't think I could swing doing both because one's in Cary, the other's in Winston. And pretty much turned it down the first time. Second time was right before when school was about to start cracking up again, when they thought that they'd be able to get something in the season. They asked if I was interested again. I told them, no, I'm working from home just because of COVID concerns. And then all of a sudden, the third time it's the weekend prior to me leaving to go to Illinois for my last tournament, and they asked me if I was interested again. And I told them I am. And so that's pretty much how it came. And so I started the first day of classes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, having heard both of you all's great story, an abbreviated version of yours, but a great story nonetheless, we want to find out more about Belonging Fellowship. So, tell us, where did the idea for a virtual church come from?
So I'll say first, it came from God. I was telling my husband, we did everything virtually from our dining room. So once the pandemic hit, our church before that, the previous church, didn't have cameras inside the church. We did everything virtually from home. And I was talking to him saying, I just don't feel like we need to go back to church as normal. And I even started preaching that this pandemic has taught us to do things differently. And if we don't do things differently, the church is going to die. Like the literal church is going to die. And so I shared it with him. He said, let's just pray about it. So we prayed about it. And then God just kind of put some names and faces in my spirit. And I called each one up and said, I just have an idea. Want to run it by you. Let me know what you think. And each person that I reached out to said, I'm in and I want to be a part of this. So it started with 9 of us, and we're growing. And we were meeting to plan all these events. And before we even launched a service, we did a community service project where we donated, just the 9 of us, and asked for 3 teachers who were either new to education or new to a school, some kind of transition. We picked 3 teachers from 3 different counties, and we furnished their classrooms. They gave us their list, and we literally bought almost everything on their list. And so that started it. Then we launched the first Sunday in September and turned his man cave into a studio. And we've been rocking and rolling since. Created for people who are looking for something different. I was very clear with him. I don't want us to create a church, right? I don't need a storefront. That's not what I want. I want to do ministry differently. And many people know that I'm passionate about the differently able and those with disabilities. And the thought of someone with a compromised immune system trying to go back into a church as churches open back up just wasn't feasible. We didn't even take our own children back to church when we opened up. And so for us, this became our passion together. And so I had to convince him to do ministry with me. So this is the first time really that he's been my partner in crime or partner in ministry. But we just started planning and thinking about what it would look like. We talked with our team. The 9 are our core group, and they help us plan absolutely everything. You know, we don't do a thing without them. And it's just been amazing to see everything kind of take off.
Okay, so tell us about how you all have structured your worship services. How do you all go about putting together a worship service on Sunday mornings?
It's the typical flow. You have your different pieces, and there's nothing unorthodox about it other than that it is fully virtual. But worship services, it still has a minister of music, still has your typical invocation offering, and then also, of course, because there's no collection plates, people can give through their phones on Giveify, Cash App, and Venmo. And then, of course, there are those who may not be tech savvy. We incorporated after the first service the usage of the P.O. box for people that want to use snail mail. And then of course, you're going to get the preach word and even scripture. But there's really, I would say there's structure, but it doesn't have to be the same structure every Sunday. If we want to start the service with more worship, you can do that. If you want to move parts of the service around, you're allowed to do that, because people aren't confined to having to be in the same place in the same time and having to worry about a group of ushers or anything like that. That requires you to be somewhat along the same routine each week. And so it's a really, I wouldn't say it's pre-recorded. Even we premiered on Sunday, but in order for us to have any type of professionalism and structure as far as the piecing together, everything is completed by Saturday. So that way on Sunday morning, the people are seeing a pretty much a live product, but on Sunday morning.
So one thing that's different for us is even when it came to who's going to do the music? You do not want me to sing. I'm very clear on that. He plays some piano. He has a much better voice than I do. I contacted a friend who had been a minister of music for me before, but he lived in another state. And so we literally bought the setup. What we have in our now studio, he has in his home. And so he's our minister of music all the way from Florida. Like, you can't do that on a Sunday morning. And so we're able to use the gifts and the talents of so many people. And they don't have to be here in North Carolina. Some of our founders don't live in North Carolina. And we don't want to do ministry just in North Carolina. We want to grow and develop so that people are wanting to be a part of a movement. And so that's what we originally said. This isn't just another church. It's a movement. It's a movement to work in your community, give back to your community, love people, because we don't love people anymore. And we're just passionate about coming up with a service, making sure we're providing a quality service that is God-led, as well as making sure we're doing real work in the community. Not just one, but wherever we need to go, that's where we'll go.
Okay. So tell us about the roles you all play in the particular services. Do both of you all preach, or how do you all tackle that?
I have convinced him to preach. So right now he does all the editing and all the behind the scenes stuff. And I've been doing all the preaching. We haven't decided if we're going to do 2 separate Bible studies, or if sometimes he'll lead a book group for a particular book and I'll do a Bible study. So we're going to really tag team this the best way we can. And we don't want to be the only 2 preachers, right? We want to bring in other ministers to do other portions, things that they're passionate about. But right now I'm doing the majority of the preaching. He'll be preaching this Sunday, and we'll flip the script. I'll do all the stuff he's been doing in service, and then he'll preach. And when we bring in other ministers, we want to use their gifts, their talents. We make the mistake, or have made the mistake so often in church, by just sticking people in positions or saying, you have a calling on your life, so you should preach. Not everybody who's called is called to preach. There are people who are just called to teach. There are people who are just called to sing, right? And so we are partnering with many different people to bring their gifts to the table. So it's not just us. Everything we do is team-led and team-driven, but most importantly, God-led and Holy Spirit-led, so that we can do the real work of ministry.
And you mentioned Bible study as well. So tell us about your Bible studies.
So Bible study starts next week, the first week of October. It'll be Wednesdays at 7. And I think I'm starting to teach Bible study this first week. And then we'll add in some book studies. We're meeting with college students now to decide what they want and what they need. A lot of our college students are hurting, they're sad, they're struggling with depression, and they don't want their parents to know. So we are actually interviewing several college students from different campuses to see what do you need and what does your campus need. So we're trying to figure out how can we really help college students. We are doing we decided we're going to do a couple of book studies that will be coming up to just figure out where people can be fed, how they can be fed. It doesn't always have to be from the Bible, right? It can be a Christian Bible study that incorporates scripture as well as another kind of book. So we're looking at different options on how we want to do that.
All right, so what kind of response have you all gotten from your audience, from the community, from those who've been tuning in? You're getting a lot of views. Is it building? How's it going?
It's definitely building. We had our first person who didn't start as a core member reach out and wants to be a member. And I was floored. I was like, we have somebody who wants to actually be a member. And we have to think about what that even means, because for us, we were like, you don't have to leave your church. You can just show up and, worship with us. And you can. You don't have to be a member of Belonging Fellowship. If you want to stay at your home church we've heard all kinds of reasons why people don't want to leave their home church. That's fine. You can still come and listen and worship with us and show up and do community service work with us. But this week we've had our first person join Belonging Fellowship, and we're getting a lot of feedback on the services and the transparency in which we do ministry. And that's something that we pride ourselves on. We don't pretend to be anything that we're not. If people watch us on Tuesday nights at 8:30 on my Facebook page, they get what they see, right? We are who we are. And we want to keep that alive in ministry. We want people to see real, honest ministry with real people who have real problems, who have real struggles with society, and learn how we deal with it.
Okay, so as you've already expressed, community service is a major aspect. You want to get into the world with God's people, with people of our society, and really express the love of God. So tell me about the community service projects you've done, some of the ones that you have on the table, and some of the ideas that you all have.
You want to go?
So they reached out to 3 teachers. Well, really they asked for teachers, anybody that needed help, and they selected 3. And pretty much being that teachers are under-resourced in North Carolina, not just in certain areas, we decided to let them send a list, and we weren't picky. There was something on the list that it probably wasn't budgeted for them to receive it. We would just be transparent with them, but pretty much every teacher mentioned things that they needed, and they received everything they asked for. And I believe most of them are in the Person County or the Orange County school systems, and one in Raleigh. So that was the first one. And then this weekend on Saturday, we will have a mobile medical bus that focuses on mammograms for women, being that October begins Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so that way, this gives an opportunity for women who may not have access to treatment or to that type of appointment. They get a chance to come on Saturday to have a mammogram to make sure that they're taken care of physically. Sometimes churches, which I don't really care for, when they start talking about healing, this, that, and the other, they look for the spiritual miracle to happen, when sometimes the miracle is that they found somebody that could diagnose the problem and that they could seek treatment. So we're giving that opportunity and helping with that opportunity for those who may not even have insurance. Our ministry, and I don't call them community service, I call them ministry service projects, because we're doing ministry. Mm-hmm. This is what ministry looks like. And so what we're doing is doing what God would do in this age, if you will. We're making access to medical healing by way of a mammogram, and catching stuff that could cause them to lose their lives or their families to be broken. But now God meets them at a mammogram bus. And so then also they're doing pretty much be a belonger, kind of a little corny phrase for the youth gathering.
Don't call it corny. I thought I was cute.
And so youth will get to come. So a lot of people ask about, well, where's the fellowship in it? Well, now the youth, those who will participate, will come and get to meet each other and get to do some arts and crafts, bring some puzzles to donate to domestic violence, because October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month as well. And so tying in things that are necessary for people to flourish in the community by way of doing ministry. And so that's pretty much what we have. And we'll plan ahead for other things to take place as we get through. Of course, Thanksgiving and Christmas is right around the corner.
One of the things I'm excited about that I really want us to do, and I'm crazy to think that we can pull this off, is build beds for kids who don't have beds. And so there is an organization that does that. They partner with churches throughout the country, and the churches or faith communities come together in a big parking lot and they build beds for the kids in that particular community. That's one of the things I'm eager to do in the spring of the year. We have so many ideas of things that most ministries overlook. How many people think about their kids who don't have a bed, and what can we do for that? There's so many churches complaining about how much ministry costs, and every single thing we do has come out of the 9 of us and those who have started to give. It comes from the funds that people give for us to do this work. And I think that's what makes us different. we are really committed to making a change in communities and making an impact in lives and making sure people know that there are people who still do real ministry, and it's not just about a sermon on a Sunday. We want to be in the communities that need us. And one thing I love that he does that we never even really discussed was he mentioned one Sunday, if you have a need in your community, let us know. And we mean that. I don't care where you are. If we can make it happen, we're going to figure it out and we're going to make it happen.
Okay. So obviously, doing ministry service, there will be in-person gatherings. So it sounds like the main objective is not necessarily to be virtual, but to be reachable.
Correct.
And for people to be able to reach you and you to be able to reach others. So tell everybody where they can find Belonging Fellowship.
So you can find our website, belongingfellowship.org. And so we're slowly starting to put more things out there, but we are on social media. You can reach us on Facebook. Just follow Belonging Fellowship page. We have an Instagram page, and we even have a YouTube page. Subscribe. So we are trying to meet people where they are and in the technology platforms where they are. We are going to do some things on Zoom, which will be smaller, more private things for people, especially some of our book studies so people can have safer places to gather. And some of our youth programs will be done on some kind of private platform. We are in the process of developing an app so that we'll have our own app so that people can stay in constant communication to create that sense of community. And what we don't want people to think is, oh, so it's just a virtual church. They're not really our pastors, but we are. You know, so if, like, for the young person who joined this week and for the 9 that are already with us, we are your pastor, and we will be there if there's a funeral. We will help you figure it out. You know, right now funerals are happening at funeral homes, so we don't have to have a church to have that. We can help do your wedding. We do require premarital counseling if we're going to do your wedding, but we can do that. We are the pastors that want to be there. I hate to call it on-demand pastor, but we're here. Whether that's coaching, whatever that is, we're able to do that. And we're committed to really changing how we do church, right? And how we do ministry. So we call it a virtual platform because it doesn't matter where you are, you can be connected. So the main difference between us and a church that has a virtual ministry is if someone is connected to a church that they're watching from home, but they're seeing other people together, they never really feel like they belong, or they feel like they may be missing out on something because they're not in the same physical space. With belonging, everybody's virtual, right? So there's not a group of people sitting in front of us that you're missing out on. Everybody's on equal playing ground. Everybody's equal. And then when we do have the ability to come together, everybody can come. There's no exceptions, right? We are following COVID protocols. Kids will be wearing masks at Be a Belonger events. They'll have temperatures taken and all of those things. But if anybody wants to join us, they can. And that's what we really want people to understand. You don't have to be a member of Belonging. If you choose to be, we would love to have you. But if you just want to do those ministry services, then join us with that. You know, maybe your faith community doesn't do that. Maybe they're not mission-minded. You can do that with us. And we don't require you to sign a membership form to do the work. I remember when I was a little younger and I wanted to participate in a particular event at a faith community. They wouldn't let me participate because I wasn't a member. And that just crushed me, that I can't help serve in ministry. And I think it was like they were offering free tutoring. I'm a licensed teacher. And they were like, well, you have to join the church first. That's not what we want you to do. If you don't want to move your membership, you can still work with us and you can still be a belonger with us. So we call them our belongers. I come up with all the cheesy, corny stuff and he just tolerates it. Pretty much.
All right. Well, Dr. LaTonya Penny, Reverend Charles Penny, pastors of Belonging Fellowship. It was a joy to speak with you, and we look forward to all your many accomplishments and endeavors. Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you so much. And I have to say it because we end everything that we do. If nobody has told you today, let us be the first to say, we love you, and so does the Lord.